I still remember the first time I used the Great Sword. I would imagine it's an experience similar to many other folks who started playing the game for the first time. Now, the Great Sword is actually the very first weapon I ever tried in Monster Hunter. I was actually playing Monster Hunter Freedom Unite on the PSP, and I picked it because, well, it looks so big and so cool. I mean, isn't that the only way to pick a weapon? In fact, I am 100% sure that I am not the only Monster Hunter newbie who started out with a Great Sword for the same reason. Of course, upon using it, I was shocked by how slow it was and proceeded to get my giant sword-wielding butt kicked around by Giaprey, or is it Giaprey, until I finally eliminated 5 of the annoying buggers during my first mission. By the time I reached the Gendrome, I believe I switched to the weapon of choice for my fellow noobs, the longsword. By the time Tri rolled along, I was a gunner main who occasionally dabbled in melee weapons, but still struggled with the greatsword. Then came Monster Hunter Portable 3rd. Basically, I hit a wall in Freedom Unite and never got far enough to face Tigrex, so Portable 3rd provided my first ever encounter with a Tigrex, and it was kicking my pants off. After being one-shot a few times as a solo gunner, I would approach Tigrex from behind, but the monster would always turn around after a few slashes, face me with its head, and then maul me like fresh meat. That's when I made the same realization that I'm sure a lot of other hunters made before me. The timing for Tigrex turning around when I tried to attack him from behind almost perfectly matched the timing for the greatsword charge. So I went what the heck and crafted a greatsword. Sure enough, I ended up taking down the Tigrex on my first try. Needless to say, I've been a fan of greatswords ever since. One of the things I find interesting about the greatsword is that for a weapon with such a limited moveset, it requires a lot more discipline and knowledge about a monster to do well with it. I could be lazy with an insect glaive or longsword and not be punished as much. With the greatsword, I need to pay more attention about when to get in and when to get out. This brings us to the Wyvern Ignition Impact. After logging a bazillion hours in Monster Hunter World, I'm almost embarrassed to admit that I haven't crafted a greatsword prior to the spring event. I've made heavy bowguns, light bowguns, a longsword, hammer, lance, even a hunting horn, but not a greatsword, which is a bit surprising given that I actually love the weapon. Heck, the greatsword was already a filthy good weapon before Monster Hunter World, and they went ahead and gave it a shoulder tackle that further addresses its weaknesses and makes the weapon even better. That's practically criminal. If you don't believe me, just look at the world rankings for the challenge quests. Anyway, with the arrival of the Wyvern Ignition, I finally decided to craft my first greatsword for Monster Hunter World. All I could say is, I love this weapon so much, I've used it in 90% of my hunts since the spring event started. I'm not even that great at consistently using the shoulder tackle yet, but my kill times with this weapon are much better than I expected, given that this is my first time using it in World. I mean, between the insane damage from charged hits, and the ability to use the shoulder tackle to cancel out of a poorly positioned charge or counter monster hits, roars, and flashes, this weapon is insanely good in the right hands. Add the Wyvern Ignition's cool jet effect that makes it easy to tell when you've got a max charge even when your view is blocked, and you've got a weapon that makes the greatsword even more fun. Now, to make the Wyvern Ignition Steel Greatsword as well as upgrade it to the Wyvern Ignition Impact, you will need 5 total of the Master Craftsman's Blueprint. This can be acquired from the Every Hunter's Dream event quest that first became available as part of the Spring Blossom Festival. This mission, by the way, requires you to hunt a Paolumu and a Rathalos in the arena at the same time. However, I recommend taking them on separately by isolating the Paolumu and not approaching the Rathalos at first. At least this made the hunt go faster for me. In addition to the blueprint, you will need several pieces of Dragonite ore, Paolumu webbing, Rathalos marrow, Elder Dragon blood, and Fireshell stones. You will also need 1 Wyvern gem. If you're lucky, you can hopefully get the Paolumu and Rathalos mats, plus the Wyvern gem, while farming for the blueprints. So now that I've got my Wyvern Ignition Impact maxed out, I decided to craft a quick armor set that had nice skills and didn't require any crazy decorations. After checking the armory, I ended up going for the Diablos Alpha armor set. Just looking at this armor's skills at first glance, you can tell right away that this works quite well for greatswords and hammers. There's even a mastery bonus here that synergizes well with the Wyvern Ignition Impact. So first let's look at the Diablos mastery bonus. First you have Bludgeoner, which activates when you have 2 pieces of Diablos armor equipped. This mastery bonus raises your attack as your weapon loses sharpness. Now, if I remember correctly, I believe this triggers at green sharpness. Honestly, this doesn't synergize as well with the Wyvern Ignition Impact. That's because the damage you get from staying in white sharpness should trump Bludgeoner's boost when reaching low sharpness levels. Instead, the mastery bonus that you want is the Elementless or non-elemental boost you get with 4 pieces of Diablos armor. As long as you don't awaken this great sword's fire element, then you get a damage boost multiplied by 1.1, so about 10% if I'm not mistaken. For skills, the set also comes with Critical Draw level 3, which is the maximum you can get for that skill. This gives you 100% affinity for draw attacks, which helps manage the minus 15% negative affinity penalty that comes with the Wyvern Ignition. In my case, I also used a charm to help get to attack boost level 4, which reduced the negative 15% affinity to just negative 10%. The Diablos Alpha set also comes with Slugger level 3, which again is the maximum level you can get for that skill. In case you didn't know, Slugger boosts your ability to stun monsters by 30%. All I can say is, Great Sword Tackle! The armor also comes with max tremor resistance, which nullifies all ground tremors, as well as Marathon Runner level 2, which reduces continuous stamina depletion by 30%. Rounding out its list of skills is Heroics level 4, which is just one level short of max for that skill. At level 4, Heroics increases attack power by 20%, while increasing defense by 30 points when health drops to 35% or lower. This one's for folks who like to live dangerously and have no problems with timing and using the shoulder tackle. Otherwise, if you want to use it with some extra insurance, I think you can pair it with, say, a Vitality Mantle while at low health, just in case. Now, it would have been nice if this also had focus, like the Black Diablos Nero armor, or an option for earplugs. If you really need those, you'll either need to use a charm or mix and match armor sets instead. As is though, the Diablos Alpha armor is a solid set for the Wyvern Ignition that has nice skills and doesn't require a lot of work or crazy decorations. As always, feel free to leave any thoughts or questions you may have in the comment section. Once again, this is Tabi Asobi, and thank you for watching.